The Navy base in Norfolk buzzed with a rhythm that never truly slept. The hum of machines, the clatter of boots, the echo of orders that traveled through steel corridors like thunder. Admiral Richard Haines was a man forged from discipline and power, a symbol of authority whose word was law. He had seen combat, commanded fleets, and spoken in rooms where the fate of nations was decided. Yet, for all his medals and pride, he had never looked twice at the man who cleaned his office every evening, a quiet janitor named Michael Cole. Michael moved with a strange precision for a man in his position, his steps measured, his movements efficient, and his eyes far too sharp for someone pushing a mop. The younger officers barely noticed him, and when they did, it was to toss a careless joke or wave him off. Even Admiral Haines, when he did acknowledge him, did so with polite detachment. "Evening, Chief," Michael would murmur softly, and Haines would nod, unaware that this quiet man had once commanded men who would have died for him without hesitation. It was a Thursday night when the Admiral's routine changed. He'd stayed late reviewing classified mission files, a secret operation known as Project Mariner. The base was nearly empty, save for the distant sound of mops squeaking across the deck and the occasional footsteps of security. When Michael entered the Admiral's office to clean, Haines glanced up, exhaustion clouding his usually sharp expression. "You always hear this late?" he asked casually. Michael gave a small smile. "I don't like crowds. Nights are quieter." Haines chuckled, rubbing his temples. "You sound like one of us. Maybe I should give you a code name." Michael's mop paused mid-swipe. His lips curved just slightly, almost amused. "I had one once, sir." The Admiral leaned back in his chair, intrigued. "Oh, really? Let's hear it." Michael's gaze flicked toward the Admiral, eyes gleaming beneath the dim fluorescent light. "Lone Eagle," he said simply. The words hung in the air like a ghost, invisible yet heavy. Haines blinked, the name scratching something deep in his memory, something he hadn't thought about in years. But before he could ask, Michael gave a short nod and went back to cleaning, leaving the Admiral staring, uneasy now, a forgotten story stirring in the back of his mind. The next day, curiosity got the better of him. When Haines asked his assistant to pull the janitor's personnel file, it came up thin, too thin. No military record, no background before 2018, the assistant said. "Looks like he just appeared." That was impossible. The Admiral's hand froze on the document, a bead of sweat forming on his temple. The name Lone Eagle wasn't just familiar, it was legendary. A ghost story among SEALs. The kind of man who completed Black Ops missions that never made it to paper. The kind of man who, rumor had it, vanished after saving an entire squad from an ambush in Kandahar. But that Lone Eagle was presumed dead. Haines's pulse quickened. Could it be the same man, or was this some bizarre coincidence? That night, Haines stayed even later than usual, waiting for Michael to appear. When he finally did, his sleeves were rolled up, revealing faint scars that looked too surgical, too deliberate. "Tell me something," Haines said, voice low. "Where did you serve?" Michael didn't answer. He simply stared at the Admiral, his silence saying more than words ever could. Then, quietly, "Somewhere you'd rather forget." Haines's breath caught. "You were in Kandahar." Michael didn't respond, but there was something in his eyes, pain, pride, and a depth of sorrow that no civilian could fake. The Admiral leaned forward. "Why are you here?" "Why hide?" Michael's jaw tightened. "Because ghosts don't belong among the living, Admiral." Just then the office phone rang, a shrill, jarring sound that shattered the tension. Haines answered, his voice brisk. But as he listened, the color drained from his face. A security alert. Encrypted files from Project Mariner had been breached, accessed from his own office. His eyes darted to the janitor, who stood completely still, watching him with calm detachment. "Michael," Haines began, his voice trembling. "What did you do?" Michael stepped forward, his voice steady and eerily calm. "I didn't break your system, sir. I'm the one who built it." The Admiral's hand went instinctively toward his drawer, where a sidearm rested, but Michael raised his hand slowly, not in threat, but in warning. "If I wanted to hurt you," he said quietly, "you'd never have heard me coming." The room fell into suffocating silence. Outside, the storm had rolled in, thunder rumbling across the base, lightning flashing through the rain-slicked windows. "Who are you?" Haines demanded. Michael looked at him for a long time. the flicker of lightning reflecting in his eyes. "I'm the man you left behind, Admiral. And now you've brought me home." As the storm howled, the power cut out, plunging the room into darkness. The emergency lights glowed faintly red, painting both men in ghostly hues. Somewhere in the distance, alarms began to sound. Michael turned toward the window, watching the rain. "They found me," he murmured. "And they're coming for both of us." The storm raged harder that night, the kind that made the sea itself sound alive, growling against the steel walls of the base. Alarms screamed across the facility, a pulsing red light cutting through the dark office as Admiral Haynes stared at Michael, or Lone Eagle, trying to process what was happening. Outside, security vehicles roared toward the command building, their lights flickering through sheets of rain. "They found me," Michael had said. But who were they? Haynes's gut told him this wasn't some small infiltration. Whatever was coming wasn't military. It was something worse. "You're going to have to trust me, Admiral," Michael said, his voice steady but low. "They're not here for you. They're here for Project Mariner." Haynes stood frozen. "How do you know about that?" Michael's eyes met his. "Because I designed it. And I destroyed it. Before they could use it." The Admiral felt the floor tilt beneath him. "That's impossible." "Project Mariner was sealed off, decommissioned years ago." Michael gave a grim half-smile. "You decommissioned it on paper." But it lived on, quietly, under different names, hidden funding, offshore accounts. Someone in your chain of command kept it alive. And now they're tying up loose ends. Before Haynes could reply, the building shook violently. A blast somewhere on the lower level. The windows rattled and the fire alarm began its shrill cry. Michael moved with startling speed, pulling the Admiral behind the heavy steel desk, just as another explosion ripped through the hallway. "Stay down!" he shouted. Shards of glass rained from the ceiling. Haynes felt his heart hammering, his chest tight. "Who are these people?" he shouted over the noise. Michael's voice was calm, clipped, all soldier again. "Private contractors. No flag, no allegiance. The kind of men who get paid to erase mistakes." Smoke poured into the office, filling the air with a sharp metallic taste. Michael crouched near the doorway, pulling a hidden pistol from a vent panel like he'd stashed it years ago, waiting for this night. "You're armed," the Admiral hissed, coughing through the smoke. "Old habits," Michael replied. "And a feeling this day would come." He peeked into the hall, then turned back. "We can't go out the front. Too many of them. There's a maintenance tunnel beneath the base. Leads straight to the pier." "You expect me to crawl through a tunnel?" Haynes snapped. Michael's expression hardened. "If you stay here, they'll kill you. And if they kill you, no one ever learns the truth about Mariner." Reluctantly, Haynes followed him through a side door and into the service corridors below the command wing. The narrow concrete hall smelled of oil and salt, the hum of generators echoing in the dark. Michael moved like a shadow, every step measured, eyes sharp, gun ready. Haynes followed, limping slightly, the adrenaline barely keeping him steady. As they descended deeper, the Admiral's voice cracked. "Why did you disappear? Why fake your death?" Michael's shoulders stiffened. "Because I realized what Mariner really was. It wasn't about surveillance or protection. It was about control. Tracking civilians, manipulating data, choosing who lived or died based on prediction algorithms. I shut it down. But they blamed me for the leak, said I'd gone rogue. I didn't fake my death. They tried to make it real. They reached a junction lit only by a flickering bulb. Michael checked a small keypad and punched in a code so fast it barely looked human. A steel door groaned open, revealing a cramped tunnel sloping down toward the docks. Haynes hesitated, looking back. "They'll think we're dead," he said. Michael nodded. "That's the point." Just as they stepped inside, a voice boomed behind them, amplified through a comm system. "Admiral Haynes, step away from the janitor." The voice was deep, cold, precise. Michael froze, eyes narrowing. "That's Commander Voss," he muttered. "He's supposed to be overseas." "Not anymore," came the voice again, echoing. "You've made some dangerous friends, Admiral. But this ends tonight." Armed men flooded the hall from both sides, laser sights cutting through the haze. Michael pushed Haynes down just as the gunfire erupted, the sound deafening in the narrow space. Bullets tore through the walls, sparks flying. Michael returned fire with surgical precision, every shot a kill. Years of dormant instinct came alive in him, his movement so fast that Haynes could barely follow. "Move!" Michael yelled, dragging the Admiral through the tunnel. They burst out onto the rain-soaked pier, the ocean thrashing violently beneath. The night sky lit with lightning, illuminating the black waves and the silhouette of a small maintenance boat tied at the edge. "Get in!" Michael shouted. Haynes hesitated. "You're coming too." Michael shook his head. "No time. Someone has to hold them off. Don't be a fool." Haynes barked. "You won't survive that." Michael smiled faintly. "I wasn't supposed to survive the first time." He grabbed Haynes's shoulder, voice low but firm. "You're the only one who can stop this now. Tell them the truth. Expose what they did. Don't let them rewrite the story." Haynes's throat tightened, realization dawning. "You're giving me your life." Michael's eyes softened. "No, just returning the one you gave me." Then he turned, disappearing into the storm as the Admiral's boat roared to life. Gunfire erupted again, flashes lighting the dock. Through the downpour, Haynes saw Michael, Lone Eagle, standing tall in the chaos, fighting with the calm fury of a man who had already made peace with his fate. As the boat sped away, Haynes looked back one last time. A final explosion tore through the pier, a blinding white light consuming the silhouette of the man who'd once been a ghost. The radio crackled and static, then silence. Hours later, when the base was secured and the smoke cleared, all that remained of Michael Cole was a dog tag, battered, scorched, but unmistakable. Lone Eagle, weeks passed. Investigations followed, reports sealed, files destroyed. But Haynes didn't let it die. He leaked the truth, anonymously at first, then publicly when they tried to shut him down. The world learned about Project Mariner, about the corruption, about the man who sacrificed everything to stop it. Michael's name became legend again, whispered in the halls of the Navy and written in every unclassified memorial. But one morning, long after the storm had passed, Haynes received an unmarked envelope at his home. Inside was a photo, grainy, taken from a distance, of a man sitting quietly in a coastal cafe in Portugal, sunlight on his face, a faint scar along his jaw, reading a newspaper. On the back, in small, neat handwriting, were two words, "Still flying." Haynes smiled, tears stinging his eyes. Somewhere out there, the Lone Eagle was alive, not as a ghost, but as a man who had finally found peace. And in that moment, the Admiral knew one truth above all: heroes never die. They just change uniforms.